got a very special guest as we get ready to get things going on the show this morning. He's no stranger to the HBCU space, and you all know him because he's been around a long time. He was one of the first guys in this space in order to, give you information and create the vlogs and the message boards and everything else. Want to welcome to the show today my man, Kenn Rashad. Good morning, Ken.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
I can't complain. I'm blessed.
Man, you have a rich history when you're talking about HBCU sports and covering it, man. You are the founder of HBCU Sports. Talk about HBCU Sports for everybody out there to know about it.
Well, HBCU Sports has been around since 1997. Like you said, its history is unique in that it wasn't always known as HBCU Sports. You might remember when it was initially created, it was known as the SWAC page,
Yep.
and it was kind of known, or should I say primarily known, as an actual message board where many of the individuals who are, profound fans of the SWAC institutions would all go and meet up on this one platform. And eventually what happened is that it evolved, and it got to the point to where we got to the point to where we started to actually break news stories. And before you know it, the platform, I took it another step, and we went from beyond just covering SWAC institutions to covering all HBCU institutions from a sports perspective. And so as a result of that, that led to us breaking more national headlines, breaking stories and so forth. And here we are, known as HBCU Sports, located on the web at hbcusports.com.
How'd you even get into this, Ken? I tell people, for me, I didn't even have a background in communications. I went to school for political science, so I kind of eased my way into it, and boom, here I am today. But for you, how did you get into this?
So, and that's funny. The thing is that I really didn't have a plan. It just kind of happened. So, like for me, I was living in Dallas, and I still live in Dallas. But back in the day, I would get you hear during the college football season, we had games during Saturday, and then the next morning, if for whatever reason, obviously I'm a Grambling graduate, and I couldn't necessarily watch the games. We didn't have internet streaming at the time. And so I would have to rely upon the Sunday, the Dallas Morning News, the Sunday paper. And in that Sunday paper, it had a huge list of all of the college football scores from around the country. And I would literally go to the Dallas Morning newspaper to get all of the HBCU football scores. And it just got to the point for me, I mean, literally all it did was this school, this score, and that school, that score. That's it. No additional information or anything. And for me, that just simply wasn't enough. And so I had some connections down at the SWAC office. Lonzo Hardy was the person responsible for the media relations down at the SWAC when it was down in New Orleans. And I actually had access to a fax machine service that they would literally fax me information. And I had a desire to learn them to build websites. And just one thing led to another, man. It was literally a project. And I wanted to learn HTML. I wanted to learn about websites. And so I was putting this information into this, onto the server, not really thinking that anyone really cared. And so after a while, I said, well, you know what, this takes a lot of time. I'm tired of this. So I'm going to go ahead and just, I've done this. I've learned my project. I know how to build websites, and I'm done. And then lo and behold, man, I get emails from folks saying, hey, man, when you going to update the website? When you going to update the website? You got a good thing going on here, man. And, someone, oh, man, black folks can't never hold anything down. Man, how come we got to update this website? And I'm like, wait a minute, there's actually a market for this. And before you know it, man, one thing led to another, and it literally grew to what it is to this day.
Let me ask, with you starting back in the 90s, have you seen this realm, and I got about 3 minutes before we go to break, have you seen this realm of HBCU coverage change over the years?
Not as rapidly. Well, obviously I've seen it, but I think now more than ever, we see more and more media outlets that are targeting HBCUs and even HBCU-specific programs. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the Jaguar Journal, man, kind of foundation for all of this. And so now, fast forward to where we are right now, with with technology being what it is, social media being what it is, and YouTube in particular being what it is. We now have platforms and podcasts that are, that are literally difference makers and are, that are kind of like setting the tone for where media is and where it could likely be going forward in probably in the next few years.
Yeah, I think the social media along with the YouTube aspect, because that's what we've been transitioning with here on the Jaguar Journal. Of course, this has been a radio show for over 20 years. But then as Mike and I started looking at it, we wanted to incorporate, because it's like everybody else is on the social media and YouTube
Right.
wave. And it's like, well, as radio, let's incorporate that, because what we found, a lot of our listeners are local when it comes to radio, right? But there are Jaguar supporters of the Jaguar Nation, and plus people that's outside of the Southern realm that want to listen to the Jaguar Nation. And that was the beauty of the social media and the YouTube aspect of right now, while we're on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. It gives people an opportunity to watch and listen to the show all across the world.
Yeah, because it especially with YouTube in particular, it gives you another platform as it relates to distribution. So like you said, even though you've got the audio side of it, YouTube in particular, and even other platforms such as Facebook, man, it just really changes the game in terms of a person has an opportunity now to either listen to you on terrestrial radio or, through the radio station, or now they've got an opportunity to actually watch your actual show either via Facebook or even by YouTube. And it literally is kind of, like I said, changing the game to how we consume our media intake.
That is the voice of Kenn Rashad, of everybody out there is listening. He's the founder of HBCU Sports. Ken, we're about to take a break, and we come back on the other side. We're going to talk about something that you're going to be releasing here soon. So everybody, you stay tuned. We'll be right back. More of the Jaguar Journal. Perry White, good morning to everybody out there listening on Talk 107.3 across the Baton Rouge capital city area, and everybody out there watching live on our YouTube and Facebook. Good to have you guys with us. Very special guest here on the Jaguar Journal this morning. He is the founder of HBCU Sports, my man, Kenn Rashad. Good morning, Ken.
Morning.
Not going to hold it against you, right? Of course, it's the Jaguar Journal. He's a graduate of Grambling State, so I just want to make sure I put that out there. You wear that G very proudly, don't you?
Man, I got a T-shirt on as we speak right now.
Listen, I saw him at a game. Was that last year? I saw you was up in the box, man. He was like, man, I'm just glad I didn't catch on fire walking in here, right?
Yeah.
All right, Ken, let's talk about something, a project that you're working on and going to get ready to release out to the public, HBCU Sports 101, a guide to understanding Black college athletics. This is a book you have been working on and that you're going to be putting out there for the public, man. Talk about this book and the importance of why to write it.
Man, this is a project that has been a long time coming. It's something that I have talked about doing for years, and it finally got to the point to where I said, you know what, man, you can't continue to just talk about it. You got to go ahead and just be about it. And I think one of the things that led to me wanting to move forward to actually getting the job done was the fact that I would go out and preliminary research would show that, first of all, there aren't really a whole lot of books out there available on HBCU sports, let alone or HBCU, let alone HBCU sports in particular. And the books that are out there on the marketplace that are about HBCUs, many of them are written by folks who didn't even attend HBCUs. And in those books are obviously, kind of like celebratory, talking about the legacy and what HBCUs stand for. But I guess when I look at some of the things that have happened in the past with maybe mainstream outlets who've attempted to tell our stories, I think maybe you can probably relate to this. There have still been instances where even those mainstream outlets don't always necessarily get it right. And so for people like me and you who actually attended an HBCU, you and I know that there are just certain nuances that only a person who attended an HBCU can actually talk about and relate to. So that was one of the reasons why I decided to do it. This book, like I said, there's never been a guide that really breaks down the full picture of HBCU sports. Its legacy, its impact, and challenges in one place. And so this book hopefully tries to fill that gap.
You're talking about this book, and I'm looking at, you break this thing down chapter by chapter to give people an understanding of the total reason of what an HBCU is, a brief history of Black college athletics. You talk about the identity of the different conferences and the division, how athletics how the athletes who helped change the history of HBCUs, and then also looking at the classics, the rivalries, the community, the pipeline from HBCUs to the NFL. And then overall, the future of what needs to be rewritten in the athletic page as we
Yeah.
continue to turn it, and the development of HBCU sports moving into the future.
Yeah, man, and it was kind of look. This was my first book project, and it was a challenge making sure that one I had to remind myself that while I had been covering HBCUs for so long, I had to be reminded through a couple of people who I've had to read the book that look, if this is supposed to be a so-called beginner's guide, you can't make this too complicated. In many instances, that's what I ended up doing. I was using terms and jargon and talking about things that I would automatically assume people knew. And I had to be reminded, no, you, excuse the expression, you're going to have to dumb this down a little bit. And there was even one moment where I was actually thinking about calling the book HBCU Sports for Dummies, but I was like, no, let's look at this from a classroom perspective, and we'll call it HBCU Sports 101. So it literally is a beginner's guide, if you will, that provides kind of like some broad knowledge. If you're an HBCU enthusiast, I think you'll still find some information about this helpful and informative, because even in the process of me doing the actual research, I began to realize, maybe something about a particular person that in my research realized, oh, I didn't even know this about that particular person. So yeah, it touches on a number of periods and a number of key elements. And for you folks there listening in the area, it mentions Southern University and key people and figures in Southern University's history quite a bit. So I think everyone, especially in your market, will find this book to be pretty informative and pretty enjoyable.
Give me a quick overview, in your opinion, HBCU athletics of the past to today, and where it seems that we're headed into the future.
Well, as I indicated in the book, HBCU athletics in the past kind of, and this is kind of the thing about HBCUs, man, being in a situation where from the start, whether it be in the classrooms or whether it be on the athletic field or on the track, HBCUs kind of made a way out of no way. You know, when mainstream schools and institutions with these bowl games and so forth didn't necessarily have room for us, even though we had the talent to compete, we didn't wait for approval. We didn't wait for anyone to give us validation. We took the steps on our own to make these things happen. And so obviously, as you look at like you said, the athletes who were difference makers in various sports and so forth, as we've transitioned up to this point with integration being what it is and so forth, and now with, black folks or black student athletes in particular now having more choices, the dominance of HBCU programs back in the day obviously aren't the way they used to be, because now, people, especially with talent, they've got choices. And in this world now of NIL and so forth and the transfer portal, students have a lot more choices. In many instances, amateur sports as we know it is no longer a thing. And so now these students have options and they want to get paid. So that's kind of one of the challenges that HBCUs face right now. Like I said, we addressed this in the book, but with respect to your question, we've just kind of gotten to this point where now it's kind of like, it's not that we have to do what everyone else is doing, but we're going to have to, without question, adopt a lot of the strategies that are being done in the mainstream to make sure that HBCUs are still being considered as an option for student athletes who might want to attend as well as compete wearing an HBCU uniform. So, yeah, it's evolved, but the challenges are real, and we're just going to have to continue to step up to the plate.
For anybody out there that's interested in wanting to get this book and say, man, look, let me get my history on. Let me learn some things. Maybe this is something to be a great Father's Day gift, Mother's Day gift, Christmas gift, birthday gift to somebody out there, man. How can they get the book, and what avenues, and how much is the book?
Right. So right now the book is on pre-order. You can go to KennRashad.com. That's KENN Rashad, RASHAD.com. And you can actually get you a signed copy of the book, which will release next Friday on July 18th. But in addition to that, there's a bundle available to where I'll send you a signed copy of the book, but you'll also be able to download an actual digital copy so that you can actually read the book right away. That's a bundle for just $24.99. The book is going to retail at $21.99, but in this particular instance, you'll actually be able to get a signed copy And look, it'll be a keepsake. I think it's for anyone. If you are a middle school or a high school student considering going to one, if you're a parent with a high school student who might want to introduce your son or daughter to an HBCU, I think this will be a great introduction to kind of give them some idea if this is the type of institution that they'll want to attend. But go to KennRashad.com, buy the book, and I think you'll find it quite enjoyable.
For you, what was your introduction to HBCUs, man?
What's that?
For you, what was your introduction to HBCUs?
Oh wow, that's yeah. I like how you did that, man. So like my introduction to HBCUs, man, goes back way before I even attended the college, and I mentioned this in the book. My family is from Grambling. My great grandfather was a night watchman on Grambling's campus. My grandmother and grandfather worked on Grambling's campus for a combined 50 some odd years. My mother is from Grambling, graduated from Grambling High School and attended the university. I went to Grambling. My son graduated from Grambling. I got aunts, uncles, and nieces who all attended Grambling. So, man, look, my introduction to the HBCU experience and culture goes well to my first grade year, and my year as a first grader, and having had the opportunity to not only, cover and report and interview Coach Eddie Robinson, who was a legend in his own right. I actually had an opportunity, man, to just hang out at the man's house, because his grandkids were friends then, are friends of mine to this very day. So Grambling is kind of within my DNA and my bloodline. And like I said, because of that, I was introduced not only to Grambling, but to other HBCUs that Grambling competed against. And being able to kind of witness this interaction and being able to witness the competition up front and personal long before I even considered going to college, it's kind of one of the things, man, that kind of over time made me realize that this kind of was my path, and I didn't even realize it at the time. So that was my introduction to HBCUs long before I even filled out an application.
Can you remember your first HBCU sporting event, whether basketball, baseball, football, what was it?
Look, so let me. My first one actually goes way back to the 70s as a first grader, but the first so-called road trip that I took was actually when I went to Shreveport during the time when Grambling and Alcorn State played in the Red River Classic in Shreveport. And it was just something phenomenal about that experience, man, because you get there in Shreveport, man, and the stadium was just packed and nothing but just black folks everywhere. And as heated as that rival was, like I said, the thing that stuck out to me more than anything was that when it was all said and done, after all of the trash talking was done, you literally see Grambling folks and Alcorn folks, man, shaking hands and giving each other hugs and tailgating, wishing each other, hey, have a safe trip. You guys be safe, man. We'll see you next time, and all this other stuff. And that really just stood out to me. And just that entire experience. And like I said, man, I've never. It wasn't my first game, but it's probably my most memorable one because of the fact that it was actually done on the road. Whereas before, living in Grambling, I had an opportunity to see a lot of those games right there on campus. But that's probably the most memorable one.
Kenn, once again, before we get ready to go, man, let everybody know where to find the book, the title of it, how much, and everything else.
Yeah, KennRashad.com is where you need to go. That's Kenn with two N's, KENNRASHAD. KennRashad.com. You can download HBCU Sports 101, and you can purchase the book. $21.99 would be the retail price, but if you buy it right now, you pre-order, I'll get a signed copy, and if you get a bundle for just $3 more, you can get the book and the actual the digital version that you can download right away. And then, of course, if for whatever reason you can't do that, it will be available on July 18th on Amazon and all major platforms, Barnes & Noble and so forth, online. And you'll be able to buy the book for $21.99. And like I said, I think you'll be informed, and it'll be an enjoyable experience for you.
That is the voice of Kenn Rashad. He's the founder of HBCU Sports. Kenn, thank you for coming on this morning. Some great stuff with that book, man. I hope everybody out there go get a copy of it and to be able to enjoy it and learn a little bit more about the HBCUs, not just from the outside, but get a deeper look on the inside of what's the very fabric and the foundation of what we see today as we continue to celebrate our HBCU and our HBCU athletics. Thank you, Kenn.
I appreciate you, brother, man. Thank you so much, Perry.